Hi everyone. This happened back when I was a young child, around 5 years old. Back then, I had no concept of the things I saw, but I did see them and I understood them. My first memory that I still have, even now, is standing in front of Jesus Christ Himself. My memory doesn't go back any further than that, and I'll explain why I think that is later. Now, here's some detail. I was standing in a large golden room. I remember looking around and just staring at the walls. I remember the walls, they were pure gold and they were covered with golden eagles actually built into the wall. The golden eagles were like a decoration or a pattern on the wall itself. I've never seen anything like that on Earth, even using common metals. It was totally insane. The detail was fantastic and it totally stood out. I looked a little further and I saw what I understood to be a throne. I just knew what it was. There was red carpet, the walls were all gold, and about 20 meters away there were three steps that were leading up to the throne. I remember all of the detail. Then someone appeared in the room. It was weird because my soul, that inner voice, it went totally crazy. It went berserk and it was screaming and shouting, saying, "It's Jesus, it's Jesus, it's Jesus, it's Jesus." It's almost like it's shorted and it was just repeating, "It's Jesus." My soul knew exactly who I was looking at. I didn't know anything about this stuff. I was still young, about 5 years old, but my soul knew who he was. He did not appear to me with flashing and flashes of lightning, thundering voices and tongues of fire. If I saw any of that, it may have petrified me, keeping in mind how young I was. Jesus was gracious enough to appear in a form I could handle. And as an adult, I really do look forward to seeing that now, all of that glory. Because of what happened, I know that when the time comes, even the hell-bound scoffers and the haters will bow their knee when they see Jesus. As the Bible says, you just can't help it. Literally, your soul knows who Jesus is, even if your flesh doesn't. Anyway, I didn't fall in terror or faint in his presence. Jesus went very easy on me. I was running around and skipping around him, literally. I was very comfortable. I was just playing and just running around. And I remember his grey beard and his hair, but not like an old person grey, more like a wise person's grey, if you know what I mean. When I saw him, he wasn't black, he wasn't white, he was something in between. But at the same time, I know Jesus can appear as he pleases, and to be honest, I don't care. Then I just remember he looked at me and he just smiled. It's an amazing smile. I can't wait to see it again. Now, I'm a typical guy, that sort of thing doesn't really bother me. But when it comes to Jesus, that smile was something different. It's totally different to anything you've seen another person do. The God of the universe was standing in front of me and watching me dance and skip around him. When I think back to it, it's crazy. Then he said, "Do you want to go back?" And I looked at Jesus, not really understanding. I had no recollection of earth or anything in it at the time. Then something amazing happened. A book in front of me, it was like a holographic book floating in front of me. I can recall a blue light around it. Then the pages started flicking very fast. Each page was a picture of everyone I knew on Earth. Each image appeared in my mind. It's like the book and my mind were connected, like Jesus possessed all my memories in book form. Believe me, guys, you do not want to be a sinner who is judged by Jesus. Everything could be exposed and you will see it all. Now, believe me, in my spirit body, I was able to grasp every page and have enough time to decide on each picture, even though the pages were flicking through at a very high rate. Eventually, I saw a picture of my mother and I says yes to this original question, which was, do I want to go back? Then I remember he looked at me again with the deepest smile and said, are you sure? And I said yes again. And at that point, I remembered my mother and I wanted to go back to where she was. Then I noticed a door in the distance. It was half open, and behind it, it was total darkness. And I went to the door and I jumped out of my bed. My first words were, where am I? I even remember my wallpaper, the memory is that vivid. I had no idea where I was or who I was. You could say I had amnesia. While trying to figure everything out, my mother heard me walking around and she called me from downstairs and said, are you okay, Carl? And I responded saying, yes, Mum. And that shocked me. I was thinking, what does Mum mean? Where did that come from? And slowly my memories started to come back. And within a couple of minutes, I went back downstairs and I saw my mother, who was quite worried for some reason. I never told anybody about what I saw for maybe 20 years. At that point, I knew God was real. And to be honest, I didn't grow up as an active Christian in an active Christian household, though that changed decades later. Now, here's some backstory. My mother's partner, not my biological father, was quite abusive, we can say. I used to get beaten on a regular basis from a very young age. He was also abusive to my mother too. I believe that may have been the first major beating which triggered Jesus to call me to him and ask if I wanted to continue going through that or stay with him. Ultimately, my mother did put me in the situation by being with that man, even though she was a victim herself. So technically she wasn't blameless. I was the only innocent person here. It explains why Jesus asked if I'm sure when I said yes. I believe the throne room is my first memory because Jesus was kind enough to fragment the part of my memory with that trauma of the beating. I believe that my memory will not go back any further than that throne room. He also explains why my mother called me and asked if I was okay when she heard me walking around upstairs. She was worried, and rightfully so. When I think back, Jesus was so fair because he gave me a fair chance to decide if I wanted to return to earth or stay with him in heaven. If Jesus wanted me to stay, he would only have to show me the beauty of heaven. He would only have to show me a glimpse of his power or pretty much anything beyond the room I was in. Instead, he gave me and my mother a fair chance because if I chose to stay, I would have died on earth. My mother would have probably went insane and her partner probably would have went to prison for child abuse and manslaughter. After that, I went through many years of physical punishment, as you could imagine, until my family found out what was happening, and then he had to leave before my uncles got their hands on him. Believe it or not, many years later, he did become a Christian, and I've heard him give sermons. It's really good. We have no problem at all. There's no animosity, and I am a very normal person. No issues, no traumas, no anger, and I have no doubt God is responsible for it. I have had a very clear knowledge that God has protected me many times, too many times in fact, and I didn't deserve it. But with all said and done, I can humbly say that I saw Jesus in person, face to face, and I want it again. Jesus is real. Parents, look after your children, because if you don't, they may end up choosing to go home. Make sure your child has a reason to stay. Thanks, everyone.